Hey friends, Rachel Cook here, business growth strategist for women entrepreneurs. And I have to say that it is almost funny. The topic I had planned for today, how I built this, how she built this, to talk about the messy middle of entrepreneurship, those times when things just go completely wrong and how you move through them in order to see the end results, those big success stories that we all hear about. And here's why it's so funny, because today was a day that I had big plans, grand plans of having an interview with some amazing women about how they built this in their business, and all the technology went wrong, right? This happens. Oh my gosh, it was so perfect. This happens to everyone. You are not alone if you have ever had all of the technology just go absolutely wrong when you are trying to do something in your business. And I feel like this is such an important conversation to have because, we are at a time right now where everybody is excited to talk about growing their business. Every person I talked to at the CEO retreat last week, growing their business in 2018 was a priority. Getting more clients, making more money, working less. These are all big things that people want to accomplish this year. And often when we are setting these big goals, we are looking for inspiration. We are looking for people who have done what we want to do, right? We're looking for those people to follow. And one of the challenges in following these people is that we are seeing the Instagram perfect results. We are seeing everything beautifully presented and polished. We're seeing their gorgeous website. We're seeing these amazing images of them like on vacation, working from wherever. We're seeing the highlight reel. And what we don't see is the messy middle. What we don't see are the tech snafus, like I experienced earlier today. What we don't see are the nights when you're crying to your husband or to your best friend and thinking, I just want to give up and go get a job at Starbucks. We don't see the messy parts. And the messy parts are so important. Getting through those messy parts are a part of the journey as an entrepreneur. So thankfully, my dear friends and clients who wanted to join me for this interview were able to make it work. We always have a contingency plan, friends, because technology always gets messed up, right? Like technology snafus, I'm not the only one on the planet who has had them. So we had a backup plan, and that backup plan was to hop on Zoom and record a conversation for you that I am so excited to share. Because these women have been through the messy middle. They have been through the ups and downs. And I've been there to witness it, to watch them, sometimes the tearful text messages or jumping into our group of entrepreneurs and sharing like what's working, what's not working. I'm doubting this. Am I good enough to do this? Is this the right thing to do? I don't see anyone else doing it this way, right? We all have those thoughts. So I'm so excited to share this conversation with you. And let's dive right on in to this week's episode of Uncomplicate Your Business, all about the messy middle and what it really looks like to build a business and life you love. Here we go. Welcome, everybody, to take of how did she do it? And I'm so excited about this conversation with you amazing ladies today because one, I'm super inspired by each and every one of you. You've all done amazing things over the last year or so that I've gotten to know you and your businesses. And two, I just feel like this is so important that we talk about the journey and not just the highlight reel, not just the, end pieces, because the journey can be difficult and it can bring up a lot of uncertainty, a lot of doubts, a lot of feelings of unworthiness or not enoughness. So I'm just excited that you guys are all joining me here today. So I'd like to start by asking you to quickly just introduce yourself and your business. Naomi, you can hear me now, right?
I can hear you now.
Great. So go ahead and tell us who you are and what your business is.
Sure. I'm Naomi Nakamura. I am in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm a functional medicine health coach.
Nice. And your website is?
My website is livefablife.com.
Perfect. How about, I see Kaya next.
Hi. So I am also in the Bay Area like Naomi, And I teach experienced yogis and yoga teachers the full spectrum of the yoga tradition and yoga therapies so they can stop pushing, worrying, straining, forcing, and strategizing in their yoga practice and in their lives. And I do a lot of transformation work through self-nourishment and therapeutic restorative yoga. And my website is yogawithkaya.com.
Catherine.
Hi, I'm Catherine Middlebrooks. I am the founder of BRB Yoga and the Heal Your Core with Yoga program. And I help busy moms restore their core and pelvic floors with yoga so that they can get back to doing all the things they love in their life. And my toddler is crying. Sorry.
Real life.
Yeah.
Real life. We're talking real life today. And Shannon.
Hi, I am Shannon Soriano Greenwood, and my website is lemonumbrella.com, and I work with small business owners and freelance professionals doing business strategy.
Nice. So I've had the pleasure of getting to know each of you guys over, some of you have been in my world
3 years.
For a couple years. Some of you have been in my world 3 years, 1 year. And one of my favorite parts about being a teacher is not just seeing people for a short period of time and then like, see you, hope you do great, but actually following you guys, maybe stalking you a little bit on social media, seeing what is happening in your life and in your business. So I want to start with some of the highlights, and then we're going to get into the rest of the show. In the last year or so, since working with me and Sweet Spot Strategy, what has been like one of the biggest wins that you've experienced? Catherine.
All right. So I have basically retired my husband, brought him we sold our house, we moved into an RV, we are traveling the country with our kids because we were able to grow our business to a point where that was a sustainable option. And so it's giving us a lot of freedom. It's also giving him the freedom to start building his own business as well. So it's given us a ton of life freedom that we were looking for.
I absolutely love that. And we're going to dive into the messy middle because I know it wasn't just
messy.
Easy going ride the whole time.
Right.
Exactly. Kaya, what has been a big win for you?
So I increased my income about 50%. I was already the full-time breadwinner for our family. My husband's actually brought his business back now, which is great. But he was able to do that in part because I could streamline my business. When I came to it wasn't streamlined at all. So I have systems in place and I'm more streamlined, and that gave me more time and more income. So streamlining, more income, and a lot more clarity that keeps me focused on what I'm really supposed to do.
Nice. I love it. What about you, Shannon? What's been a big win for you in your business, the highlight reel?
My biggest win would be working part-time. I have 2 little babies now. I just had one when I first did Sweet Spot Strategy, and I knew that I wanted to take a long maternity leave. I knew I needed to work less because I had been essentially neglecting myself and my health for many, 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 many years, and I needed time to be able to invest back into me feeling good.
Nice. What about you, Naomi?
So I have been doing this for a relatively short period of time, less than 2 years, and I was really struggling because I didn't have a whole lot of clarity about what exactly did I do and who I did it for. And I was following a lot of, there's a bunch of business coaches online, and you're trying to fit yourself into their mold, but you don't really, it wasn't working for me, and something just felt disconnected. And coming from 20 years in the corporate world, I knew I needed to be more strategic, but I just didn't know how. Sure. So your quiz, your Sweet Spot Strategy quiz, really gave me clarity into where my sweet spot was and the type of marketing that I wanted to do. And so my big win from last year was I started a podcast, which is something I really wanted to do even before I started this work, but it gave me the clarity to know how to do it and how to do it in a way that felt genuine and authentic to me.
I love that. And these are some huge wins. I mean, ranging from working less to continuing to make more money, to retiring your husband, to starting a podcast that feels really good. These are things that I know are on like people's goals for 2018. I know these are things that people actually have written down somewhere saying, this is what I want to do this year. So let's talk about what it actually takes to achieve some of these goals. Because I think you guys would all agree it wasn't just like you decided, oh, I'm going to work less this year, and then it just magically worked itself out. So what were some of the lessons that you learned as you worked towards these goals? What were some of the things that had to shift for you? Catherine, go ahead.
Okay, sure, I'll go.
You're like, yep, I know these.
Yeah.
Well.
So I think one of the biggest ones for me as a yoga instructor primarily, and something that I really took away from Sweet Spot Strategy was, when I started Sweet Spot Strategy, I had a membership site that was a really low ticket item. It was $9.99 for people to join. And going through Sweet Spot Strategy, it really just helped me realize that it was going to be so very challenging to get to any of those goals when I was trying to do something that was so inexpensive in an online space. Like just the sheer volume of people that I would have to get in order to create anything that would sustain our life and our goals, it would have been insurmountable, basically. And so really deciding to move away from that model and niche down, create a larger program that solved a very specific problem. So I help women who have abdominal separation after childbirth get their core strength back. And I'm able to do that. It's an 8-week program. It's bigger. It's a higher price point. And so increasing the price and then getting really specific about who those people are made all of the marketing pieces fall into place much easier. And so then it was working through the systems that you teach in Sweet Spot Strategy to get the word out about that program. I think that not having that, it would have been impossible to get to any of these goals.
Nice. And I love that you shared you had tried something before and realized, oh, this isn't going to work for me. So there is an element of trial and error. I wish I could say that, I have all the answers, but there's still always going to be an element of trial and error for everybody's business. It just simply helps, I think, if you have somebody who can give that other perspective, somebody who's been on the other side of a lot of it. To help you eliminate some of the trial and error or streamline it as much as possible. So Shannon, what about you? What have been some of the lessons learned along the way?
I think the biggest thing I took away from Sweet Spot Strategy was structuring my offer. And pricing that similar to Catherine in a way that I didn't have to work with so many people that I was feeling overwhelmed and all over the place. So I didn't really have a problem attracting clients. Like I have a pretty big network and I knew who I needed to get in front of. I just wasn't really sure what I was supposed to do with them once I got them. So really getting clear about what do I really do? Like what comes naturally to me? What am I good at? And then really building my offer and my business around that. I never really understood that you could just do things that you're good at, that you like doing. I thought you have to do what other people are going to pay you versus that reverse engineering. So that was the biggest light bulb moment for me when I went through the program of I can just be very specific in what I do and find those people that this will help.
Nice. That's a huge realization. And I think a lot of people struggle to find that intersection between what you love, what you're great at, and what people will pay for. And if you're missing any of those three things, business is a lot harder than it needs to be. If you do what you love and what you're great at, but nobody will pay you for it, it's not a business. But if you're doing only the things that you're good at and people will pay you for and you don't actually love it, you get burned out, you get bored, you don't want to keep going. And it takes that grit, it takes wanting to stick with it to actually build it to anything worthwhile. So thank you for that. What about you, Naomi?
So I am still working a 9 to 5.
Yep.
So my biggest challenge is time. So there were two things that really stuck out for me this year in Sweet Spot Strategy, and I've only been in Sweet Spot Strategy for a year. So the first one was what we just went through last week in your CEO retreat, was your best week ever, or your best year ever. And just doing that strategic planning and learning how to take my goals and then break them down in a way that's not only actionable, not only aligned so that I'm maximizing what it is I'm producing, but also in a way that won't leave me so stressed out and so burnt out and feel like I'm working all the time, because my hours are very limited in my business. So that was a big thing. And the other thing, what Shannon said, is how to structure your business so that I can still make an income, but yet not feel like I'm running around with a chicken out of a head doing all of these things. But I've become very strategic in how I structure my packages and my offerings so that it does fit the current lifestyle that I have, but yet I have a plan in place and how I can scale that.
I think that's so important, especially because so many people are in your exact situation, Naomi, who are working a 9 to 5 and building their business on the side. And it's so important to go into that knowing that there are certain things you're going to need to do design-wise to make sure you're just not working nonstop every day of the week. So I really... And you're right. And there's so many things that I want to do. I have all of these ideas, but I have to really rein myself in to say, okay, what is realistic? And then make sure that my priorities, I'm a health coach, so make sure that my priorities of taking care of myself and still maintaining my health is still there as well. Beautiful. I love that.
There as well.
Kaya, how about you? What have been some of your biggest lessons learned? Kind of that messy middle part.
Right. I feel like because I've been in business for 16 years, there are so many messy middles that, you come again and again and again to them. And I've been working with you for 3 years now. My biggest takeaway has been your work really teaching me that there's such a thing as a business constitution, and always going back to that, that, okay, mentor, mastermind, mostly mentor, a little bit of mastermind. And when anything is outside of that, knowing that it's not a fit, the messy middle, over the last couple of years of working with you, has looked like, I would say where it gets messy is when I get away from what that constitution is. When I start to compare to what someone else is doing and think maybe I should run after that. And actually, I guess I was in a messy middle when I came first to Sweet Spot, and I had a 2-year-old and needed to make more money in less time. And it looked like I was doing everything in the dollar per hour model, right? Just trading my hours for dollars, like you say, and doing every bit of the business myself, scheduling every client, which was like 10 hours a week of time. And so sort of doing everything for everyone on a dollar per hour model. That was my messy middle. And also coming in, seeing how much work was going on in the online space. And I thought, I need to shift to doing online programs because that's the wave right now. And I need to do that in order to scale my business. And it took doing the whole program with you to realize that that's not really a fit for me and who I am. And that wouldn't be my sweet spot. So that kind of was all messy. Coming in thinking I need to go online, then realizing that's not really right for me and my ideal clients, and then trying to see what is right. And so I came to doing what I'm best at, which is high touch with a little bit of online kind of plug-in hybrid. So I've learned a lot from you about how to do online stuff, but also to know that that shouldn't be the focus of my business, or I won't be satisfied, I won't be working in my sweet spot, and I won't be as successful. So there's a lot of messy.
And I see Shannon shaking her head, and I love this because we attract, as people can tell from the ladies joining me right now, generally a lot of women who are in healing and helping professions. And again, when we see that highlight reel from other people, we hear about what we think we should be doing. It's like, well, you should start a video show. Well, you should have an online course. Well, you should be an Instagram famous yoga teacher who has pictures of you on the beach all the time. And that is not what everybody needs to do. And in fact, I've seen so many people who try to go in a direction they thought was the direction to go, only to come back to me and be like, Rach, I was so miserable doing that. I don't want to be at home by myself all day. I don't want to be behind a computer all day. Or I've had people come back and say, I really miss my clients. Like, I need to be with people in person. So there is no one size fits all approach. And I love just getting to know each of your businesses. Kaya's super high touch and one-on-one. Shannon does a combination of collaborating with other people and working one-on-one and working in groups. Catherine's got an online-based business, and Naomi's launching new programs all the time that are a little bit more leveraged, that fit in with her model. And I think there's a way to make it work for you. It might not look like what everybody else does, which is okay. In fact, that's the best way, is your way, the way that works for you. So as we kind of wrap up, kind of the how I built this, I just want to get like a quick one-liner from each of you. Like, what's one thing you would share with somebody who's like a new entrepreneur or who is thinking about what they want to achieve for this year? What's one thing you want to impart on them, one nugget of wisdom to keep in mind about this whole journey of entrepreneurship?
Okay, I'll go. Well, I have two things. One, it is a roller coaster. And when you see that highlight reel, even when you get to some level of success, it's still a roller coaster. There's that like self-doubt and the questioning, that is something you're constantly working on. So when you see all those people talking about how successful they are, know that they still are struggling with all of that stuff too. I think that's really important. And then, if you are someone who wants to be building a primarily online business, like I did, we wanted to be able to travel, so we needed to be online. There's so much noise and clutter out there that I think that you will be very benefited by niching down to an extreme, like niching beyond where you think you need to niche. Like, I thought I was very specific in my original concept of busy moms, but that's a huge group of people. And so then niching down even more specifically to moms who are struggling with core weakness, then I was able to communicate to people in a way that made sense. Then I was able to find those people that actually needed my services. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I had stayed trying to serve everyone.
Yep, exactly. Love it. Shannon, what about you? A word of wisdom.
My wisdom would be, let it change, right? I think I know Catherine and I both kind of came into Sweet Spot Strategy with one plan of what we thought was going to happen. It sounds like Kaya as well. And then as you get into it and go through it, and then when you do it the second time or the third time or however many times you do it, let yourself be open to change, because we think we have it all figured out until you really dive in. And if you're not flexible enough, then you'll get really frustrated for a long time of trying to make it work the way you set it up in the beginning.
Mm.
Yes, that evolution piece. You have to be willing to let it evolve and change as you get more clarity. I love it. What about you, Kaya?
I would say if you think of your business as being like, the bow and arrow, I see a lot of people just shooting a bunch of arrows in every direction and hoping something's going to hit the right thing without that pulling the bow back, where you're pausing and you're planning and you're taking time and you're aiming in the right direction. But I also see people that start to get business coaching spend too much time pulling the bow back and trying to make it perfect, and they get stuck there and they don't ever aim and shoot. So I think to keep in mind that you have to be deliberate, pull the bow back, do the planning and strategizing, aim as best you can in this moment, and then let the arrow go. Get it out there, even if it's going to be imperfect. And you do that again and again and again, deliberately, but do it. Let the arrow go. And then it ultimately becomes much more spontaneous, and you become that, perfect shooter over time. Maybe you make a few mistakes again and again, but pull the bow back and let the arrow go, both.
I love that. And yes, you have to be willing to make the mistakes. I think some of the quotes I love are like Michael Jordan sharing how many shots he's missed over his career and how many winning, things that he missed and games that he lost for the whole team. But you also look at the trajectory of his entire career. You only win if you're willing to fail. Like, bottom line, you have to be willing to miss the target a few times. Great. What about you, Naomi? What's a big lesson you would impart on people who are just getting started or looking at their goals for this year?
So 2 things. One, when you're just getting started, you're super excited and you want to do all these things. But like you always say, slow and steady. And that is really what I have learned this past year. And I'm actually really looking forward to going through Sweet Spot Strategy Live again, because there's like way more things that I need to learn from it. And the other thing is that I've learned that starting your own business is the biggest lesson you'll ever get in personal development. So be ready for it.
Yes. I wish I could say again that it was just easy, but I can't tell you how many coaching calls I get on with amazing clients who are doing great things. And there are tears and there is frustration and there is, wanting to give up and quit and go work at Starbucks. I think it would be abnormal almost if you didn't experience all those things, because when you're an entrepreneur, you're putting so much of yourself into your business, which means there's going to be high highs and low lows, but the more resilient you become, the faster you'll get where you want to go. So thank you all so much for joining me. I so appreciate it. I appreciate you guys staying on to record this little love note of inspiration to share a little bit about how you built your businesses. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Ladies.
We appreciate you.
Okay. Well, I so appreciate it, guys. And I appreciate you guys.